So last week, Rush Limbaugh made homophobic comments about you, and he said that America's not ready. He doesn't think for a gay president. Now, then Limbaugh, I don't know if you know, but he gave this whole story today that President Trump told him, don't apologize for saying anything he said. Publicly, though, Trump says that he would not have a problem supporting a gay candidate. Do you take him at his word?
Well, not if he's sending out his supporters to talk in this way. And look, I mean, the idea of the likes of Rush Limbaugh or Donald Trump lecturing anybody on family values? I mean, I'm sorry, but one thing about my marriage is it's never involved me having to send hush money to a porn star after cheating on my spouse with him or her. So, they want to debate family values? Let's debate family values. I'm ready.
For all of the self-inflicted wounds that Donald Trump has caused to himself, I think picking a fight with Pete Buttigieg is probably at the top of that list. This is a newly resurfaced clip from the 2020 election that's suddenly become especially relevant today given the fact that Trump's now been indicted in New York for exactly what Pete was referring to here. In the clip, Buttigieg was responding to Trump, who suggested that Rush Limbaugh shouldn't apologize for saying that a gay man can't be president of the United States. Here's that moment from 2020.
They're sitting there and they're looking at Mayor Pete. 37-year-old gay guy, Mayor South Bend, loves to kiss his husband on the debate stage. There may be some Democrats who think that's exactly what we need to do, Rush. Get a gay guy kissing his husband on stage, you ram it down Trump's throat, and beat him in a general election. Really? Having fun envisioning that.
And just as a side note, that's the guy that Trump awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom to at the State of the Union. Freedom. Right. So let's just get this straight. According to Republicans, a guy who, if reporting is correct, may currently be facing 34 criminal charges related to paying hush money to a porn star is A, more qualified, and B, a more ethical person to support than a family man who isn't facing criminal indictment and who just so happens to be gay. And not only that, they're gonna bash the living hell out of the gay person for simply existing while going to extraordinary lengths to explain why the obvious criminal is actually just an innocent man who did no wrong. Yeah, maybe I'm misunderstanding what family values actually means. This clip from Pete Buttigieg is perfect, not just because of Pete's wit, but also because it perfectly encapsulates the complete inversion of reality that Republicans have constructed around themselves. It requires a lot of mental gymnastics to defend the indefensible, which is probably how you end up with the porn star payoff guy as the arbiter of Christian family values. But the thing is, it's not just the hypocrisy about family values. Pretty much every core Republican argument about who they are is completely and consistently contradicted by their own actions. They claim to be the party of states' rights, and yet, during the 2020 election, while trying to illegally subvert the election results, they all signed on to the Texas lawsuit to discard the election results in Georgia, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Michigan. They literally tried to overturn the will of individual states because they didn't like how those people voted. Talk about defenders of states' rights. They claim to be the party of fiscal responsibility, and yet, what happened the last time that Republicans took full control of government? They added $7.8 trillion to the debt. And for what? A tax cut that overwhelmingly favored millionaires and billionaires. And now that they control the House, their first action was to vote to add $114 billion to the deficit to make it easier for rich people to cheat on their taxes. By contrast, Biden lowered the deficit by the largest amount in history last year, and the budget he proposed this year would continue that trend. And yet, we're supposed to believe that it's the Republicans who have a monopoly on fiscal responsibility. They claim to be the party of jobs. Now, not only did Trump lose the most jobs of any president in recorded history, but in my entire lifetime, there has not been a single Republican president that created more jobs than a Democratic president. Republicans still parade themselves around as if they've somehow got this monopoly on job creation, when not only do they not have a monopoly, they don't have any winning stats to point to against Democrats. In fact, in the last 3 decades, here's what their records actually look like, according to the numbers. George H.W. Bush leaves office with a 7.3% unemployment rate. Bill Clinton, a Democrat, leaves office with a 4.2% unemployment rate. Then George W. Bush leaves office with a 7.8% unemployment rate. And Obama, a Democrat, leaves office with a 4.7% unemployment rate. Noticing a trend here? Trump leaves office with a 6.3% unemployment rate, and then Joe Biden, a Democrat, brings it back down to 3.5%. In other words, Democrats are constantly cleaning up Republican messes. And since I have been alive, that has literally always been the case. Republicans claim to be the party of the police, and yet, well, I'm not sure I have to remind anyone what happened on January 6th. I'm pretty sure it was only one-party supporters who managed to bludgeon police officers, and if memory serves me correctly, it wasn't the Democrats. And I know that there are probably a broad range of ways to support cops. Pretty sure that trying to murder them isn't one of them. They claim to be the party that's all about protecting children, and yet when faced with the #1 cause of death for children, which is not drag queens or books, but gun violence, they turn a blind eye and actually pass laws making it even easier for criminals to obtain those weapons. And of course they claim to be the party of law and order, while they defend a guy so far facing God knows how many criminal charges while trying to literally defund law enforcement to prevent even more crimes from being exposed. In fact, here's Jim Jordan just today calling to defund the police for investigating Trump.
Legislation, write laws and pass legislation, so we'll look at that. Okay. And maybe most importantly, Maria, is we control the power of the purse, and we're going to have to look at the appropriations process and limit funds going to some of these agencies, particularly the ones who are engaged in the most egregious behavior.
So the DOJ and the FBI.
Yeah.
So look, Republicans will pretend that Democrats are extreme or radical, but that's just to compensate for the fact that the only extreme party here, the only party that has stripped women of their bodily autonomy and coddled millionaires and billionaires and pretended that climate change doesn't exist and refused to take action in the face of children dying to gun violence, is the Republican Party. So when they point their fingers at the left, it's nothing more than projection, because remember, every accusation is a confession.
Well, not if he's sending out his supporters to talk in this way. And look, I mean, the idea of the likes of Rush Limbaugh or Donald Trump lecturing anybody on family values? I mean, I'm sorry, but one thing about my marriage is it's never involved me having to send hush money to a porn star after cheating on my spouse with him or her. So, they want to debate family values? Let's debate family values. I'm ready.
All right.
Before you go, a quick announcement. I've started a Spanish YouTube channel. Democrats desperately need to be able to appeal to Spanish-speaking audiences, so this is me doing my part. To help that channel get going in the algorithm so that we can finally start spreading our progressive message and breaking the conservative stranglehold on Spanish-speaking media, please subscribe and watch a few videos. The link to that channel, called Brian Tyler Cohen Espanol, is right here on this screen. And of course, to see more of my content in English, make sure to subscribe to this channel as well. The link is also right here on this screen. Thanks so much for watching.